Ladies and gentlemen, elite heat. I know I say it most weeks, but this week I can't emphasize enough. This is probably our most loaded run sheet we've done in months. The amount of content and juicy content we've got for you, it's one you want to listen to right the way through. I must say that myself. So, Kevin, for starters, how you doing, pal?
I'm good, pal. I'm never better. Never better, pal. I can't wait for this week's episode. We have a ton of stuff to talk about, a ton of scandalous topics that may or may not get some hate. We'll see. And then we have to finish our, not finish, but get closer to finishing our top 50 wrestlers of all time list. Of course, last week was notorious for a little bit of an argument that we had that led to the cancellation of an Around the World segment that had to be nixed. So here we are, pal. I can't wait. We're going to do 30 to 21. We're going to talk Jade Cargill leaving AEW. We're going to talk the AEW women's division. We're going to talk the Exposé of AEW. But first, got to plug Spotify. 5-star reviews on Spotify, please. 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening to this on YouTube, if you made it this far, just click the link below and give us a 5-star review. That's all we ask. I think it's a fair thing to ask. Pal, how are you doing?
I'm good. I just want to shout out, all our listeners, everyone who's got this in their headphones right now, everyone who's playing this on a computer, on a phone, whatever. Shout out all of you. I know YouTube, there's a really good, devoted base, so around about 150 to 200 listeners every week. We get usually about 20 likes every show on YouTube. Pretty good engagement. You know who you are, especially in the YouTube comments. Spotify, got a good listener base on there as well. So, yeah, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Shout out. Kevin, once again, I emphasize this run sheet. Some of the topics are quite scandalous. If we did some of these topics 2-3 years ago, these are the ones that get you blackballed, get you cancelled, yada, yada. Now, the tide's shifted quite a bit in the wrestling landscape, as we'll get to. But first, Kevin, unless there's something you want to start us off on, I want to talk Jade, pal.
Yes, please. Go ahead, kick it off.
Kevin, this is one of the more hyped signings I've seen in recent times. This is a big deal, a huge acquisition for WWE. This one, right away, about 3 to 4 weeks ago, this was first put into the universe that Jay's going to go to WWE. And, we could have addressed it then, but I said, and you said, look, let's wait. More's going to come on that. Now, as of a day ago, 2 days ago, she's been officially announced as WWE's new big signing, the first signing in the TKO sort of era under the Endeavor sponsor, on partnership. Kevin, I'll start by asking you your initial thoughts, your initial reactions, Jade Cargill's in WWE.
It's a big signing for WWE. It's a big get. You'd be blind not to see that. And this signing shows you a lot of things, but one thing that jumps out to me was how selective WWE is with the people that they sign that are already in the wrestling business, at least under this new regime that's been in place since Nick Khan took over a few years ago, or Nick Khan was brought in a few years ago, I should say. And that is that here, if in AEW's case, right, anybody that gets released, Mustafa Ali, Ziggler, you name it, all the other guys that got released, immediately it's like, oh, these guys are going to AEW. You don't see that the other way around. AEW cuts a wrestler, like Big Swole, throw her out there, for example. WWE wasn't knocking the door down, flashing checks in her face, like, here, come to WWE, pal. Former AEW star, here's Nick Khan money, pal. No. WWE, they sign stars. And Jade Cargill is a star. Cody Rhodes is a star. And those are people that WWE plucked from AEW and are giving them the platform that they need to succeed. And that's basically what Jade said in her interview, which we're going to talk about. Her interview with ESPN was about the platform and the machine being behind her now. And it's all reality. It's a big signing. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see what she does.
100%, it's massive. And really with her, she's on that level, that elite level of female talent with, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. That's those are your faces of the next 10 years. Those are the stars who are going to have those big WrestleMania main event matches, those SummerSlam main events. Personally, I think, and maybe I'm biased with this, maybe you want to see Belair versus Cargill more, or Belair and Cargill as a tag team. I don't know. I'll ask you in a minute. But to me, Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill is the match.
Yeah.
That's just the match to do. No shade on Bianca Belair, but as a matchup, Rhea Ripley is the head honcho of Raw. She's the most unbeatable star in women's wrestling and has been for the last year or two. She's the star. And Jade Cargill coming in as such a big signing, that's the match to do. I don't know when they do it. That to me is like a WrestleMania Night 1 main event. That's the match you do in the main event of that show. Night 2, that can be whatever, Roman, Cody, whatever. That's a whole separate thing. But yeah, Jade and Rhea to me is the thing to do with Jade Cargill. I look forward to seeing how they build that, what they go about, like how they execute Jade on TV, what they present her as. AEW, in fairness, did a fairly good job with Jade. They had her like not lose for a long time. She was the TBS champion. And then ultimately it sort of fizzled out a bit with her at the end where I was like, okay, she's off TV. Oh, she's got a 2-minute spot on TV. Okay, now she's off TV again. And it got a bit weird and a bit murky. And now she's in WWE, pal. I guess I'll ask you, pal, is there a match or something you want to see? For me, it's Rhea versus Cargill, but what about you?
I think any combination of the three women that you named, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, or Jade Cargill, any two of those three going up against each other one-on-one is a night 1 of WrestleMania main event. I don't think it matters at this point. We haven't really seen Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley in a big built-up marquee one-on-one match. Jade Cargill, we haven't even seen her step foot in a WWE ring yet. But we know based on what we saw in AEW, she's going to be money. And physically, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, they match up with her well. It's just, it looks good seeing those two women face off against each other. Whoever it would be, whether it's Jade and Rhea, Jade and Bianca Belair. Can't go wrong either way. Jade Cargill really has an interest and an intrigue that we haven't seen in the women's division in quite a while. You could put her up in there against Becky Lynch. You could put her in the ring with Trish Stratus. You could put her in the ring with Charlotte Flair. There's a ton of matchups that are out there and that are in play. She could do stuff with Damage Control. There's so many things that they could do with her. They could put her in NXT. I don't think she signed on the dotted line to be in NXT. I doubt it. But they could convince her to go to NXT and she could do some stuff with Tiffany Stratton or Cora Jade or one of those ladies too. I mean, it's really intriguing all across the board. That's the kind of star that Jade Cargill is.
Yeah, and just one more thing on what you said with, I guess, how they sign, how they bring in talent. AEW will bring in pretty much anyone. It felt like nearly anyone who just left WWE or got cut, they bring in a bunch of them. Nick Khan is like, we want only stars. If you're an AEW or another company, we only want stars who we're gonna be able to put the machine behind and have success with. That's what Jade Cargill is. One more point on that women's division, whole sort of thing. Kevin, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, when women would main event pay-per-views, it would feel forced. That's really the main word for it. It would be like, okay, Becky versus whoever, or this wrestler versus whoever, Lacey Evans, whatever. It's main eventing for an agenda to fit a narrative because of whatever. And as an audience, collectively, we'd be like, or this is bad and what have you. Now, right away, Jade Cargill's she's been signed. And when no one's being hyperbolic and saying her versus Rhea Ripley, her versus Bianca Belair, her versus Charlotte Flair, even her versus Becky Lynch, those are all legitimate WrestleMania main events. That's the kind of caliber of star matchup. Like, that's a big deal. So it's a credit to the talent they've got, the female wrestlers they've got, really WWE's women's division. Yes, there are some issues week to week, some of the booking, and this match wasn't included in this show and what have you. Yeah. But as far as the bigger picture, the big talent they have, the star talent, the real creme de la creme of the women's division in WWE, there's a lot to be happy about right now. Nick Khan, Triple H, the leadership, they should be very proud of themselves.
Now, allow me to play devil's advocate here for just a moment.
Yep.
With Jade Cargill and going to WWE. So it's a little bit different than the Cody comparison. Like, when Cody signed, Cody had an act in AEW that was already a complete act. They didn't have to add anything to him. He showed up as the American Nightmare, the same one he was in AEW. Showed up as that version of Cody in WWE, and it blew up. He had the entrance, the gimmick, the merch, the look, everything, the moves, everything he did was exactly the same in AEW. Jade Cargill, I don't think she's as complete as a prospect as what AEW version of Cody Rhodes it was. It's still we still don't really know exactly who is Jade Cargill, the character.
Yeah.
What does she bring to the table from that aspect? We know she's pretty solid in ring. We know she has a presence and a physique that can attract mainstream attention. We know her husband is a legitimate professional athlete, so he has that marketing machine behind him. We know that she has the mic skills, but we didn't really see her in a lot of like long-standing matches. She doesn't quite have, like I said, a gimmick. So it's interesting. I think she does have to refine that and figure that out before they just pluck her in and put her on Raw and have her getting in Rhea Ripley's face.
Yeah, no, 100%, fully agree. And I just want to emphasize, so Jade Cargill did an ESPN interview, which has got, I think, a bit of 100,000 views now, just addressing the new signing. This is when she hasn't been in WWE yet, officially, really, and it doesn't really have that established gimmick. So already 100 plus thousand on this ESPN interview. She was asked this question, which I thought the answer to this was fascinating, and I'll read out like the question and the answer. And you listen to this and tell me whether 3 years ago you'd ever hear something like this. So Kevin, here you go. The question is, Jade, a lot of people want to know, you've been in AEW since the start of your career, 2021. Why the move and why now? So that's the question. Jade Cargill answers, the leadership. I mean, Paul, Levesque, Triple H, Bruce, Dan, and Nick Khan. You can't get any better than that. I'm the first signing under the TKO umbrella. There's so many different things. I mean, where else can you go to get the best quality training? Nowhere else. The PC here is one of one. There's nothing else like it. The machine is behind you, the platform, just overall the history, the legacy. I'm creating a household name. I mean, the question really is, why not? Why not WWE? So that was Jade's answer. I found that telling. I think that's an answer which, granted, a lot of that is what Nick Khan, and that's a lot of the pitch of what these star like athletes, these ones that Nick Khan, these guys see things in, would tell them. You know, the history, the training, the machine, the leadership, all of it. So I found that interesting. But Kevin, I mean, would you ever hear something like that 3 years ago? 3 years ago, when WWE was this big, bad, evil bully, was the narrative, and everyone's trying to get away from them. Free Ali, release him from the jail that is WWE. Oh my God, evil Vince McMahon. Johnny Ace is an awful person, yada, yada. I mean, you wouldn't hear things like this. This is so glowing. I'm reading that going, why would anyone sign anywhere else? So, Kevin, I guess thoughts on that at all?
But yeah, you'd never hear in a million years under the Vince McMahon regime any wrestler, any prospect, any athlete saying, "Yeah, I signed here because of the leadership." Never. You'd never hear that kind of analogy, that philosophy, when being asked a question or when having a question answered. So to hear that, it really shows you what Triple H and what Nick Khan and Bruce Pritchard and all those guys have done. And she also brought up a point that she's the first TKO signee. And she has a lot of pressure. She's putting a lot of pressure on herself because of that. And she wants to deliver. And it sounds like to me she gets it. She's in wrestling for the business. She's not into wrestling to do flip-flops and take a bunch of bad bumps and be bullied in the locker room by Britt Baker. She's into wrestling to be like she said, a household name, to be a star. And that's the opportunity that WWE could afford her. And yes, AEW put her on the map. AEW gave her a national television platform. So if anyone tries to downplay AEW's role in this and making her a star, it would be silly. You know, like this opportunity for her to build up this name that she has wouldn't have been afforded 3 years ago either. If she was wrestling in Impact and she was wrestling in Ring of Honor. You know, she would have came in kind of like a Kevin Owens, like a Finn Balor. It would have been like, oh, wow, okay, nobody knows who this person is, but they're really good. Now with AEW around, it offers opportunities that weren't there for people like Jade Cargill and MJF. And Ricky Starks are probably the biggest names that I could think that WWE could put the machine behind and make those guys and girls really big stars.
Well, those are the ones. You took the point right out of my mouth, pal. Like, Cody was the first. I think when we look back on it in 5 years, 10 years, we look back on Cody's move, it was like, okay, that changed the tone of everything. That was the one, and that kickstarted a lot of this. Because now we see Jade in 2024, MJF will be the one. I have no doubt in my mind. Because Kevin, we'll get to this later, but you know, the Adam Cole thing's good right now. It's been a good story. But I look at, for instance, his position on Wrestle Dream, this big show coming up in a few days. He's in the Adam Cole tag team wrestling the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch, for the Ring of Honor tag titles. which that match will go on the middle of the show. I'm like, MJF should be main eventing shows. MJF should be like the, Anyway, we'll get to that. But what I want to say here, just one more thing on that leadership point that Jade Cargill mentioned. I was thinking about this the other week when it comes to, I guess, just the dynamic with obviously Tony Khan, Nick Khan, Triple H, these like big head honchos, the ones who run these companies that we discuss on a week-to-week basis. And it got me thinking, like, picture it's like the mid-1990s. Tony Khan's like a little lad pal. He's playing with his action figures. He's got his Triple H action figure. He's having a match against a Shawn Michaels action figure. He's got a Mr. Perfect action figure. Notice that power dynamic. Tony Khan is that fan. He's that wrestling fan. He idolizes these wrestlers. He looks up. He just adores these wrestlers. Triple H is the wrestler who's got the action figure of. Triple H is that guy. Triple H is him, so to speak, pal. And then Nick Khan is the one profiting off of Tony Khan buying the action figure. Nick Khan's in a suit and tie in some boardroom making money off it. That's the sort of person Nick Khan is, and that side of WWE is. So the point being with this analogy, the dynamic of leadership. Tony Khan, the AEW big head honcho boss, we've known this for years. This is nothing new. He's the diehard, he's the big wrestling fan. He's the one who wrote star match ratings in a notebook while watching random tapes in the 90s. He's the one who was watching WCW cruiserweight matches, giving them star ratings, going on wrestling forums in the late 90s. That's Tony Khan. Triple H is him. He's that big star, as we'll get to with our top 50 countdown, Kevin, like a top 10 all-time guy. He's got the name. That is Triple H. That's Paul Levesque. And Nick Khan's the one, the great business mind who really spurs the machine on, keeps it going. So I was thinking about that, and just the dynamic's fascinating. I don't know whether you have any comment on that, Kevin, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to ask the next question. This is where it gets a bit spicy.
Oh, here we go.
Does Jade Cargill's departure expose the AEW women's division as a failure?
I know if it exposes it as a failure, it sort of, to me, exposes it for what it is. And it was the same thing when Cody left. It exposes the AEW women's division. There's not really a place where star WWE style wrestlers are really made to excel, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the AEW women's division is not the same as the men's division. The men's division of AEW has more of your indie sort of stuff and your sort of longer matches, independent matches, which Cody didn't really fit in. Cody was like an outcast in that sort of realm. Jade, I mean, she was similar. She just didn't really fit in per se. She was having that big undefeated streak. She was so dominant. And that was awesome for what it was. It was great. Good for Jade. Good talent, obviously, as we discussed. But did it fit with the AEW women's division? And to be fair, what is the AEW women's division, Kevin? How would you review this division? It's been now 5 years almost. What's the identity of the AEW women's division? Who's their biggest star or two, and what are the biggest matches or moments they've been a part of?
Right, that's the question. What is the AEW women's division? And it's really hard to put like a concrete answer on that. We know it started out in 2019 and 2020. It was Kenny Omega's favorite women's wrestlers from Japan. And then it became like Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, kind of as joint faces. And now it's just Britt Baker's division. Everybody has to go through Britt Baker. She's involved in the biggest storylines constantly. And rightfully so. I mean, she was a legitimate star. In 2019, it should have been Britt Baker's division. It took a little while to get there, and people kind of lost interest and intrigue in the division based on the way it was booked at the start. And I think that's really the problem, is that it was booked poorly, with no rhythm, no rhyme or reason. Just Kenny Omega's favorite Japanese wrestlers out there having matches. And it kind of killed the intrigue, and they haven't really brought it back. And Jade Cargill could have been that, but at the same time, she was also not really that experienced to be the sole proprietor, the sole star carrying a division.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, I would say just underserved and got off to a bad foot.
Yeah, so it's all stumbled out of the blocks, and then really in recent times, I'll give credit where it's due. Toni Storm, her sort of, I guess, older school sort of character, like what she's doing now is a literal, like that's a genuine like tick. That's just good stuff. But stuff like Soraya and I don't know why they brought her in. I don't know what value she's provided specifically in this division. I can't think of one thing she's done where I've gone, that's worth hijacking the division for a year or two for that. Like, I mean, good for her. She came out to We Will Rock You at All In and won the title. Great. But what does that really do for the division? I don't know. And they've had the TBS women's title. You got the AEW women's titles. There's 2 women's titles. Okay, I guess, is the division deep enough to have 2 women's titles like that? No. Like Statlander's had her little run for a bit, and she's around the mark, and Jamie Hayter's around the mark, and she was good for a bit, but there's a lot of just intermoving pieces. Nothing really sticks. This is my analysis of it. Feel free, if you're listening to this and you think he knows nothing, comment what I should know about this. But to me, the division for 5 years has felt like Kenny Omega, Tony Khan, whoever's producing and writing this, if AEW produces anyway, throwing crap at a wall, and like a little bit sticks. Tony Storm's gimmick was good, a good entrance here. Jade Cargill had a good little run here. Britt Baker's dentist thing here. Britt Baker this. But on the whole, a lot of it just slides down the wall and doesn't stick.
Yeah, that's pretty much where they are in terms of the women's division. Another question is, does Jade's departure, does that bring to light a bigger problem that AEW has? I don't know necessarily if she's directly involved with the leadership aspect or lack thereof of leadership in AEW. I don't think her departure is really to be credited to that. Not at least not like how Cody's is. But this is more so, I guess, like a CM Punk kind of thing. Jack Perry, the Young Bucks, Hangman Page, kind of taking liberties, doing whatever. All the wrestlers are allowed to do whatever they want. Well, certain wrestlers are allowed to do whatever they want, but if CM Punk does it, he gets fired.
Of course.
If Andrade Alito responds to a guy threatening him, he gets suspended. But Sammy Guevara, nothing happens to him. So it just depends on who Tony likes or who the Elite like. Maybe Jade Cargill wasn't a part of that group that the Elite and the Brass liked. I don't know, but does this lead to a bigger problem? Does this shed light on a bigger problem within AEW?
Well, I think for years, any wrestling fan with a functioning brain has been cognizant of the fact that WWE, and as we're seeing now with Jade's answer, as we alluded to before, is this big conglomerate, this machine. Now it's very well run. It's far better run than how AEW's ran. AEW, contrastingly, is Tony Khan, fair play to him, and a bunch of wrestlers, the Elite, which causes the problems you mentioned there. If you're in favor of the Elite, if you're one of the boys, if you're Chris Daniels, you're Kazarian, you're, I guess, Scorpio Sky, Hangman Page, Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, if you're Marco Stanley, if you're one of the people in the big sort of clique bubble of friends with the Jacksons, with Kenny Omega, that's great for you. You're not going to have any backstage issues. If you do have a backstage issue, you're going to be one kept and not punished. And then the other one will be the one fired, punished, suspended, reprimanded, yada, yada. There's that, is what it is. I don't love that. I mean, it shows a clear divide. And the fact that, one camp's here, the other camp's here. This camp has the power because the Elite are involved in this one. Everyone over here, tough for you. Maybe explore WWE. Maybe reach out to Nick Khan and see what they can do for you. That's sort of where it's at. I don't know, Kevin. I can't go by when CM Punk got fired and you had the Jacksons gyrating and dancing in Chicago. That was like a big one where obviously, Kevin, there's been things on BTE, and should the executives of a company have a YouTube show, which is just them making inside jokes still? I don't know. Should that still be going on as they're literally running a company? That is what it is. But I really didn't like having a wrestler, the big star of the company, fired, and then the EVPs dancing and shimmying in that wrestler's hometown to celebrate. Kevin, could you imagine Nick Khan? Kevin, they fire Dolph Ziggler. The next show in Cleveland, Nick Khan comes out gyrating, shimmying, dancing with Triple H. See you, Dolph. Can you imagine this? It's ridiculous.
It is.
Kevin, I don't know.
It's insane. It's insane. You picture in whatever, picture 2023, right? Just imagine that in WWE, Like you said, Nick Khan's out there. He's doing the worm, doing the cha-cha slide with Triple H in Cleveland in front of Dolph Ziggler's hometown fans. It's like it would look ridiculous. People would be like, "What is this?" Like, this is a guy that's orchestrating multi-million-dollar deals, billion-dollar deals in television rights, million-dollar deals in commercials and ads, and ridiculous Mike's Hard Lemonade ads in the middle of pay-per-views. Now, how would that guy be taken serious when he's in a pitch meeting with the people at Mike's Hard Lemonade, like 48 hours removed from gyrating in Cleveland, singing na 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 na, hey, goodbye to Nick Nemeth, pal?
Like, that's just the funniest visual. Imagining, those, like, when a wrestler's family's in the front row, oh my god, their parents, their wives here. I'm just imagining, it's like post-show, Nick Nemeth's parents are in the audience, Ryan Nemeth's in the audience, and Nick Khan's in front of them doing the cha-cha slide, being like, bye-bye, Dolph, see ya, bitch. Like, that is so ridiculous. But anyway, I'll let you guys, think about what you will. Kevin, I'll ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we did a number of shows on this. We've addressed the CM Punk situation ad nauseam. This isn't so much about deep diving into that, but more so just a general question. I'll ask you this. What effect does that have on, like, how AEW is viewed in your opinion? Like, because that was a big deal for really all out 2022 to 2023's All In. That drama engulfed AEW. That ended the AEW honeymoon phase and turned AEW into, well, I don't even know, Kevin, your thoughts. Did that affect AEW much? Has CM Punk and that changed how you view AEW? What do you think?
Well, for one, Tony Khan coming out there on TV, like later that night or whatever it was at Collision or the pay-per-view a day after when CM Punk got fired. I don't remember exactly how that played out. I think he got fired on Friday or Saturday evening, Saturday afternoon, and then like a few hours later he's in Collision or on Collision in Chicago. And he's like looking at the camera. He looks nervous. He looks like he doesn't really know what to say. He's reading a script of a prepared statement from a lawyer, perceivably, like that's what it was. And he's just like, I fired CM Punk with cause. And he mentioned with cause like 4 times. He mentioned how he was never before afraid for his life at a wrestling show before. That's a really bad look. When you have the guy that's running and operating a wrestling company, this multi-billionaire, the same guy that allowed CM Punk to demasculate him at All Out in 2022, is out there saying he was afraid for his life by CM Punk. And I mentioned this when we talked about the whole thing originally. When you say you're afraid for your life, that's going to make the average casual wrestling enjoyer who reads that news story, they're going to think, what did CM Punk do? Like, was he out there, like, threatening people with a weapon? Like, what did he do? You know, if he was angry at another wrestler, and he put him in a headlock, and you just happen to be like 5 feet away, and you witnessed it, and you're afraid for your life. That's not a great look. That's like if after the Montreal Screwjob in 1997, when Bret Hart punches Vince McMahon in the face, gives him a black eye, and the next night on Raw, Vince McMahon is like, Bret screwed Bret. Like, that's what happened. Now imagine it goes this way, where Vince McMahon is like, out there doing the interview with Jim Ross, and Jim Ross is like, so Vince, what happened last night in Montreal? And Vince is like, Jim, Bret Hart punched me in the face. He gave me this black eye. I was terrified for my life. I didn't know what was going to happen. Bret Hart's going to be hearing from my lawyers. This is dangerous, unprofessional. Not only was I afraid for my life, but the entire locker room, guys like The Undertaker, The Rock, and Stone Cold were afraid for their lives. It would make wrestling look like a joke. Like, this business is based on tough guys and girls beating each other up. Like, Tony Khan is the same guy that's booking a show that has a freaking guy cutting himself every single Wednesday night in John Moxley. That doesn't make you afraid for your life? Like, it's a tough business. A wrestler putting a wrestler in a headlock in front of you should not, in theory, make someone afraid for their life. Unless CM Punk was threatening people with a weapon or something serious. Unless he had Tony Khan, like, on the floor, face down, about to curb stomp him. Like, I don't know. It would just be a really bad look. And it would have killed WWE's momentum if Vince did the same thing in 1997. Literally, nobody would take wrestling serious.
No, I couldn't agree more. And And one more thing on Punk before we move on, because I mean, as we know, the Punk conversations can go for an episode, 2 episodes just themselves. But I- I'll say this: if what CM Punk was doing was just so ridiculously dangerous, if it genuinely struck fear in the heart of people, if wrestlers were fearing for their life, there'd be wrestler walkouts, Kevin. There'd be wrestlers, just like groups of wrestlers, refusing to show up to Collision, refusing to wrestle at all because CM Punk's on the roster. If it was that bad, but I don't know. Obviously, we're not backstage. Stories will come out. Shoot interviews will come out about this in coming years. Wrestlers who were just in the locker room will tell the story once they have the NDAs come off contracts, and once the contracts and the deals run out, we'll really find out specifically. So I'm not going to make too many hyperbolic statements regarding this until then, but yeah, it does make you wonder. You know, Vince McMahon coming out after the screw job, cowering in fear, saying that we got rid of Brett with cause. With cause, we got rid of him. He made me feel afraid, and he made Mark Calloway and Kane, and he made Steve Austin feel afraid with cause, and Shawn Michaels, and we've gotten rid of him with cause.
Yeah, can we stay on the CM Punk thing? I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I thought you were done.
No, I was going to say, WCW viewers, regular WWE viewers, or WF at the time viewers, would watch that and go, what the hell is this?
It's a joke.
Nah, pick up the remote, Nitro's on. Like, that's what would happen. So, you know, Kevin, anyway, back to you.
I just want to mention this too. There's been a clip that surfaced now that's pretty relevant of Jade Cargill talking on a podcast where she said the only person in AEW that was willing to teach her how to use a chair was CM Punk. So one, that's going around now because it's ridiculous that you have Jade Cargill getting ready to go on live television not knowing how to use a chair, and nobody's willing to show her. You know, none of the people in charge, not Kenny Omega, not the Young Bucks, you know, not Tony Khan, not whoever they got back there producing shows, is like, hey, maybe you should learn how to use a chair. And then the other thing, it's like, it makes CM Punk look good, so of course it's going to go out there. The people that love CM Punk and hate AEW are going to make sure that goes around. Makes CM Punk look like this professional, this great guy, and I'm sure he was to some, because Jade Cargill's not the only one that said good things about him.
Kevin, I'm sure, I mean, with that example, but as time goes on, more of things like that will come out, and for myself and many others, it'll become like, maybe Punk was just being right on things, and yeah, he's in his mid-40s and has a bit of a temper and attitude problem generally, but he was right about a lot of things. You know, he's backstage, and he's got management who are either too afraid to explain to a wrestler how to use a chair or just refuse, and this wrestler's supposed to be one of the big stars of the company, and they don't know how to use this chair. Like, that's ridiculous. So,
yeah, ridiculous,
you know, more of that will come out, I'm sure. Kevin, is there any other little examples you have here regarding that, or?
No, that's all I got, pal. I'm ready to move on.
There you go, Kevin. I want to ask you this because, I mean, you're in the US at the moment. You generally always are. But regarding AEW's, ticket sales, I know this was a big thing with WWE a few years back, where it became the thing on Twitter, especially where they'd post pictures of empty seats, pictures of arenas that weren't full. Ha ha, look at WWE. People aren't buying tickets. I know recently it was sent to me multiple pictures of AEW arenas where quite literally there's camera side, there's enough seats so that the live cam still looks like there are people there. But everything on the side where the cameras are, there's like no one in the arena, empty seats, yada, yada. I mean, Kevin, talk to us about that. You're probably better to talk about it than me because you're in the States. What's the go? Is the vibe there that if an AEW shows in your town, you won't show up because of either prices or the cost of, like, what's the go with tickets in AEW?
Well, there was an AEW show in Fort Lauderdale, which is not too far from me. Maybe like 2 months ago or something, and I was just like, I'm not interested. Not really interested in anything AEW is doing right now. Not interested enough to go drive like an hour and spend my whole night, Wednesday night, watching AEW. So for me, it's not a money thing personally. You know, for me, it's an intrigue thing. But when it comes to the economy, right, the inflation and everything here in the States is so insane. The prices of everything has gone up like 20-30%. The grocery bills are probably the most affected. Gas is probably second most. It's the cost of living's gone up. You know, there's not a lot of room in the budgets of a lot of people for extracurricular activities. And that budget that they do have for those activities, like sporting events, concerts, wrestling shows, whatever the case may be, festivals, it's being allocated with more thought and more care. And AEW is it's just not in the cards right now for a lot of people. It's not an intriguing enough show, at least in this area where I'm at, and in a lot of areas in the United States, where people are like, yeah, I'm gonna go, And now that's not always the case with WWE. WWE is selling out arenas. WWE's hot right now. A good product is going to be inflation proof and economy proof. As long as you put a good product out there, people will pay for it. People will pay a premium for entertainment. It's one of the few things we have that distracts us from all the other problems in life. Going to sit at a wrestling show for 3-4 hours and be entertained. And if you're not going to be entertained, and you know that going in, that you're going to get some random Ring of Honor guy facing John Moxley and he's going to bleed, and then you're going to get some MJF and Adam Cole segment where you've pretty much seen them all by now at this point, it's not a lot of intrigue going around. And I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. And contrastingly, you look at WWE, Kevin. I'll use this example. I mentioned it last week, but I want to emphasize this again. Optus Stadium, Elimination Chamber, February 24th, I believe, next year. They put out a pre-sale when they announced the tickets, where you put in your email, you put in your name, and then as soon as tickets are available, you get notified. 75, 80,000 people, that pre-sale was like sold out in about 3 or 4 days. Within about 2-3 hours, I put in for the pre-sale, and this event is on the other side of the country from me. I have to fly across Australia to get to this thing, organized accommodation. That's what I'm happily doing to experience a big WWE stadium show. That's what I'm doing. And contrastingly, AEW's now from you, and it's like, do I really need to?
Right.
Should I? That's an hour's drive. Just plonk some Bad Bunny in your ears, drive up the highway, and you're at AEW at that show. But there isn't that same, I need to see it. There's not that same, I'm missing out sort of feeling. We sort of know what to expect now. We know AEW is going to give you a fine show. There's some good matches. There's some indies, some ROH guys. There's some guys who are bigger stars. Yes, Bryan Danielson, John Moxley. Oh, we'll see Jericho here. And, there's Omega and his friends. And there's the Bucks. There's Hangman Page. Cool. But it sort of just is what it is now. I think that's really my realization of AEW. We sort of now just know what it is, which during the honeymoon phase, the first year, 2 years, 3 years, there's that real feeling of this could be anything. This could be WCW. This could be something that just absolutely changes wrestling and puts WWE in the dust. There's that, I guess, false hope, false optimism, that belief maybe it could happen. Now we sort of just know what it is. Right. You'll get its 700,000-800,000 viewers each week on TV. If it's in your town and you feel invested, you'll go buy tickets. If not in your case, I'll give it a pass. What have you? I know what to expect, know what it'll be. You know which wrestlers to expect, who they like, how they treat new wrestlers when they come in. If a wrestler comes in, you sort of know, okay, well, even if Edge comes in, let's say, cool, he'll probably work with Christian for a bit. He'll have a match against maybe Darby Allin. Yeah, cool. There isn't really that same mystery or intrigue anymore.
Right.
That's sort of gone. So you sort of see it for what it is. You see inmates running the asylum, so to speak. See how Tony Khan runs it. You see how they, CM Punk was handled in that situation. And you sort of see for what it is. And Kevin, one more thing on that to let you carry on. Overexposure. Do you want to just talk about that? Because I know you're a quite busy individual. You got your job. You got a number of things going on, personal commitments. And you got, 2 hours of Dynamite, 2 hours of Collision. Hour of Rampage is still going strong. There's YouTube exclusives. I'm on the AW YouTube channel. There's like 4 different YouTube shows, podcasts, interviews, behind the scenes stuff, all of it. How can you keep up with it all?
Yeah, that's the thing. Before I answer that, let me just go on for a minute too.
Yeah.
All right, pal. So we're back. We had a temporary loss there. I thought for a second that the file did not record that 40 minutes that we were just talking for was lost. Thankfully, it was not lost, and we still have that. My power went out. Pretty bad weather in Florida, typical. It rains like 20, 30 minutes, and power outages happen when it's thundering and raining and all that good stuff. So that's great. Tony Khan did not want you guys to hear this conversation. Tony Khan orchestrated a deal with Mother Nature to prevent this podcast from happening. That's what happened. That's the story I'm rolling with.
Yeah, Tony Khan, Aubrey Edwards orchestrated this. Kevin's power literally went out. I asked him that question you just probably heard before regarding AEW's overexposure and having 2 shows, 2 hours, and a weekly rampage and all the YouTube stuff. Kevin got 3 words in an answer, then boom.
Boom.
It's like when Cody's about to enter power, lights out. You know?
All right, so I'm going to answer your overexposure question. I just want to go on about the ticket sales and that whole topic again. So this is not a WWE versus AEW thing. We're not trashing AEW and their ticket sales and saying that their product's bad just to lift up WWE. WWE, for a period of time, their ticket sales were dwindling and it wasn't doing well due to lack of intrigue in the overall presentation of the wrestling shows that we saw. And I actually went to some AEW shows early on in their existence. I went to AEW's second ever show, Fight for the Fallen, in Jacksonville. That's famous for the Cody versus Dustin Rhodes 5-star Mat Classic. And I went to an early Dynamite in 2020, just before the pandemic started. It was in the middle of the Cody Rhodes and MJF feud. And I went to a Dynamite when Punk first returned. So it's nothing against AEW, And then for WWE, like you said, you're willing to travel and make accommodations for a good WWE show. I'm doing the same for the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble's in Tampa, which is like a 4-hour drive for me. I have no problem doing that, I'm going to build a weekend around it, build a little vacation around it, do some fun stuff in Tampa. And go check out some zoos or go snorkeling or kayaking or whatever. I'll figure that stuff out. Make a whole weekend out of it. So it's just it's based on what's going on with each product.
No, 100%. Yeah, and I guess to build on that with the question, if you're not really interested that much, are you going to watch a 2-hour Dynamite, a 2-hour Collision, a Rampage, all that? No. I don't know with AEW. Like I watched the match between Danielson and Starks, their street fight. I mean, I was entertained for like 5 minutes watching that, sure. But the rest of the clips, the rest of the segments, nothing really intrigued me. I was looking at going, okay, what here do I need to watch? What here do I want to look at? What's going on? I just skipped over all of it because nothing popped out, which isn't great. It is what it is, as you say. Maybe in a year, 2 years, 3 years, a heap of things pop out, and AEW's really turned the corner, and they're firing on all cylinders in the new era. I don't know, but Kevin, one more thing about this new era, Wrestle Dream. I mean, by the time everyone listens to this show would have already happened. But it's happening this weekend. Any thoughts on that? Because it's basically the marketing for this whole event is it's the first show of the new era of AEW. It's a significant night in AEW's run. I mean, that's how it's being marketed. Is it going to be, or is it just going to be just another AEW show, some good matches, probably a watchable show that everyone will rate 8.5 out of 10, but really its legacy and its significance in wrestling? Is there going to be much? I don't know. I love the concept of Wrestle Dream, paying tribute to a wrestling legend. I appreciate that. That's awesome. But is it just all marketing, that whole thing? It's a new era, pal.
To me, I see the new era thing as one of two possible outcomes, possible scenarios. One, it's a celebration, a further victory lap of CM Punk being fired. Or two, Edge is going to debut. And Edge is going to replace CM Punk as the biggest star in AEW, the leader, the guy that the show is built around. I don't know what else it could possibly be other than those two things. It's kind of like when Hulk Hogan left the WWF in the early 90s, and Vince was like, oh, it's a new generation, pal. I kind of feel like it's going to be that. Like, I'm leaning more towards that. Like, CM Punk is gone. This is about new wrestlers getting new opportunities, so on and so forth, etc., etc. That's really where I stand on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just want to see where it goes because, as we discussed, as I said 5-10 minutes ago, we now pretty much know what AEW is. This new era thing, how much that changed? If Edge comes in, does that really change the landscape, or is that just going to be a guy? He's involved with Christian. He works with his buddy for a bit. They have a match against Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. They have Edge maybe feud with MJF, which would be excellent, but who knows? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. So there's that. Unless Kevin's anything else you want to really address with, I mean, AEW, we've done a pretty good segment on AEW. We don't really address AEW that much because, quite frankly, we want you guys to stick around and listen. We talk about AEW. People don't care. People tune out. That's the podcaster side of this. You know, we like to cover all wrestling and just talk and talk for hours, but the fact of the matter is people don't want to hear us talk about AEW. It's just, by and large, outside of some of you core loyal listeners. So there you have it, Kevin. There you go.
There it is, pal. Yeah. I mean, all right, let's get to it. Let's just get to our the rest of our top 50 of all time list, pal. Let's get to it. I'm going to go 30 to 21. You want me to start with mine, pal?
I'll go first,
Okay.
actually. I'll get mine because you went first last week.
Yep.
Look, the 30 to 21 portion of the list I found the hardest to do, or outside of, because 50 to 41 sort of semantics. I feel like it's not like the top, and it's sort of just who needs to make the list and who I feel deserves to make the list. 30 to 21 is like, it's not your creme de la creme all-time franchise player, game-changing legends, but it's guys who had pretty damn good careers. Guys who are famous and significant in wrestling for a great career, big main events, legendary moments, or just greatness sustained for multiple decades. So, Kevin, without further ado, I'm going to get into this. Some of these placings will raise eyebrows. I have no doubt in my mind. I know our loyal listeners, Andre, and I think that's how you pronounce it, and like Art, you'll probably hear this and go, oh my God, and you'll have completely different rankings. Give them in the comments, and everyone listening to this, YouTube comments is probably the best way, or our email, which we'll put in the description. So that being said, Kevin, number 30, I've got CM Punk. This one, I was tossing up. Where do I put Punk? I don't want to put him too high because, as you've said infamously, when you were watching WWE late 2000s, 2010, he's just like this mid-card guy. And then 2011 happened, 2012 happened. He exploded up as far as all-time rankings. He became a someone. He really crafted a legacy. But then he quit 2 years later. We didn't really see Punk's prime, you know, and it's the same thing, as I said, with Eddie Guerrero. If Punk wrestled out the whole 2010s and he wrestled into the 2020s and he had great big main events, he'd probably be 10 spots higher, maybe 15 spots higher if he wrestled his whole career. Probably be where Roddy Piper is on my list, but he's not. He's in number 30, and I think that's fair. I don't think he should be that much higher. Great match catalog, great mic guy, but just not enough, meat on the bone in that career. So he's number 30. Next, 29.
Hold on, pal. Hold on.
Yep.
Just for time's sake here, I'm going to interject. I have CM Punk 29th.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just say this. When it comes to CM Punk, I think he saved his legacy in terms of being placed top 30 all time by returning and having that AEW run. I think for me, if he didn't have that AEW run, I don't think he would have made my top 30. He probably would have been like 34, 35, something like that. But I put him at 29th mainly for that reason. And everything he's done, I mean, the Money in the Bank 5-star match and, countless other accolades. And he's one of the greatest in-ring wrestlers, one of the greatest promos of all time. He's a guy that's going to be remembered for years and years and years to come, just for some of those infamous promos, aside from the pipe bomb, of course, that one. But yeah, the pipe bomb and his impact and his legacy, it goes unstated. He's one of the biggest stars, bar none, that wrestling's ever produced.
Yeah, and arguably the most impactful wrestler of the last 15 years, as far as what he did and how he changed the landscape and all that. So, yeah, goes without saying. Next, Kevin, 29. I was dwelling on this for so long, but at the end of the day, when I look at my criteria, I look at impact, what you're involved in. The fact of the matter is this person was involved in the biggest storyline of the Attitude Era. And without this storyline, who knows if WWE is still going today or what goes on. This wrestler's been a WWE champion.
Oh,
this wrestler has had some big WrestleMania street fights. Poor Vince McMahon above CM Punk. Vince McMahon 29. Kevin's having a coughing fit over this. Kevin, this wrestler is involved in the biggest storyline of the Attitude Era. Need I say more?
I can't believe you did this. Oh, that's great. I love it. Thank you for putting Vince McMahon in there. Thank you for that.
Pal, so just to clarify, you got CM Punk, Phil Brooks, 30, Vince Kennedy McMahon. 29. Biggest storyline, the Attitude Era. What more do you want? He was drawing in 9, 10 million viewers to Raw himself every week. That was Vince McMahon. So if there's any critiques on that, you know, what are you on about? I don't care what matches how many indie matches he's wrestled, pal. That speaks for itself. The amount of segments he's been involved in as an on-screen actor and a character and a performer. He's been involved in big matches, Kevin. The Street Fight, WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 19 versus Hulk Hogan. He's been built up in 2 of the big matches at the biggest pay-per-views ever, 17 and 19. So,
wow.
Speaks for itself.
I'm just laughing at the delivery, the way you said it. This wrestler has been a WWE champion. that killed me. Sure, you want to put Vince on your list? He's not on mine, so I'll just say that. Go ahead.
Well, wait, so he's involved in the biggest storyline, the Attitude Era, and you don't put him in? Why not?
He's an executive. He's the CEO, the chairman. I would not classify him as a wrestler. That's just me personally. You do as you please, sir.
I base mine on Impact, pal. So there you have it. Next, I've got Dusty Rhodes, 28. Yep. Dusty, once again, this is someone who, I mean, we discussed Harley Race last episode, and someone who was so significant in that time period, in that sort of territory, NWA, WCW. Everyone will point to the Hard Times promo as his sort of defining moment, his defining promo, and his just general run in WCW against Ric Flair and that sort of thing. When it comes to Dusty, I choose to forget when he's coming out. It's like the Sapphire thing, and he's in WWE, he's shimmying with polka dots. I choose to sort of not pay as much, acknowledgement to that, and just acknowledge what he did in WCW, NWA. That's Dusty to me and to a lot of people. So yeah, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, carried by the Hard Times promo, but just a legend, objectively. So I got him 28. I don't think he should be top 20, but I don't think having him outside your top 50 is fair. So there's me, 28. Do you want to put in anything here, Kevin, or do you want me to move on?
Well, I have Dusty a little bit higher. Do you want me to talk about that now?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I have Dusty at 21. So I looked at the rest of my list from 30 to 21, and I knew Dusty was going to be top 30, and I was like, where do I put him, And I put him that high, mainly because he was the face of WCW for a period of time, or the NWA, when, like, Ric Flair was running wild. He was, like, the baby face, like, that face. Like, Ric Flair was the face of the company, the face of the franchise, but Dusty Rhodes was the top face. I think that counts for something. He's kind of, like, the guy that people use as a blueprint when crafting a babyface. Is him and Hulk Hogan, I would say, even to this day. Dusty is one of the top 10 on the mic, in my opinion. That Hard Times promo, excellent. Just everything that he's done, that he did and he has done, was big time. I think being the top guy like that, I think holds a little bit more over some of the other people I have on this list. Couple that with the Hard Times promo and some of the great matches he had with Flair, I got him 21.
No, completely fair. Next, this one I was really weighing up. I think you had this wrestler in your early 30s from memory.
Kevin Nash?
Maybe mid-30s. No. Oh, you're the wrestler 36. I got this wrestler 27. I got the Big Show, Paul White. I looked at what he did, and over a sustained period from the mid-90s through quite literally the mid-2010s, he was involved in either the main event or the upper mid-card. He's one of the more reliable wrestlers ever, really. He was always there to do a job. Infamously, yeah, he'd be a babyface, he'd be a heel, he'd be a babyface. Yeah, I get it. A lot of turns in the 2010s. That's what his sort of thing became. But when he was in WCW as the Giant, wrestling main events against Hogan and all the big stars of wrestling history, there was that. He comes across the WWF. He's involved with, the corporation, McMahon, Austin. He's in the crux of that. He's involved in main event matches all through the 2000s. He's the ECW champion. He's really done it all across WWE, WCW, ECW. He was the world champion of all three of those.
Yep.
That has weight to me. He's the Big Show. He's a legend. He's Paul White. So I got him, 27? I think that's reasonable. He wasn't at any stage like the guy in a company for a certain period of time, but a 20-year run where he's pretty much a main eventer or a co-main eventer or an upper mid-card guy, significant wrestler, significant talent. And he's in TV, he's in movies, pal. It's Paul White, pal.
Yeah, he had the infamous Waterboy appearance for 45 seconds. Gotta love that. Yeah, the only thing that I dinged Big Show for that left him outside of my top 35, was really the fact that he was never really like a top guy for a sustained amount of time. He was in the mix in like '03 with Brock and Kurt Angle and that whole thing. But other than that, like Big Show never really had a strong, sustainable run as a top guy. That's really the only reason for me not having him in that top 35 area. I can see the case for him though. The longevity, the sustainability, the stardom. It makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm saying consistent on that. So most of that criteria, that reasoning, applies to this next person. I think you had a couple of spots above him as well. I've got Kane. I believe this is my 26th spot. Most of the same reasons. This is someone who made such an impactful debut. Ripping the door off the cell. It's Kane, and Jim Ross screaming. The feud with the Undertaker alone in the Attitude Era is just iconic. And here's everything is involved in Austin McMahon and just the corporation and Kane's role in that. A huge star of the Attitude Era. No one can forget the 2001 Royal Rumble. Kane's all-time performance there. Everything he brought to the table. A big star on Monday Night Raw, and from then through 2002 through like '05, yes, there was Katie Vick. I mean, Kane wasn't the one humping the corpse. That was Paul Levesque. Anyway, there's that.
Wow.
And then, just a sustained career of longevity and excellence. He was, bald Kane. He had the unmasking. Everyone remembers that. But really more so just 20 odd years of main event or co-main event or upper mid card credibility. He was involved in such big WrestleMania matches against The Undertaker. And I don't know, Kane sort of speaks for himself. I feel like this is once again a fair placing, similar to Big Show. It's not, like 45, 50, but I don't think this is like a top 15 guy all time by any means. So I think this sort of placing, you've got him like early 30s. I've got him, 26,
Yeah, I have him 34.
Yeah.
It's similar
Yeah.
with the Big Show. Like I rate him and the Big Show pretty similarly. I was like, okay, wherever I had Big Show, I gotta have Kane in that same ballpark. Because Kane didn't do it as a top guy, but with him, it's mainly stardom, star power, consistency, recognizability. Never really had like a really good, great one-on-one match aside from the one he had with Taker in '98. It's not a ton of Kane matches that come to mind. So I don't think he's complete enough to be in like top 25, top 30 area.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Next, Kevin, this one, number 25, I've got Kevin Nash or Diesel. Infamously, last episode, I put a lot of stock into one being a core 3 NWO member. That helps Kevin Nash quite a bit here. Once again, same with a few of these guys, not like a match catalog guy. I'll get to one or two of them in coming spots, but really, Kevin Nash, his legacy is being one of the core NWO members, being a WWE champion, WF champion for a year straight. Yes, he gets dinged a bit because it was the new generation era, and that was a time when the main event would be Diesel versus King Mabel. It was hardly business was booming sort of thing with Kevin Nash, but
Yeah.
he was at a sustained run as the top guy, really from, what are we saying, like 94 sort of through about 99 across WWE, WCW. He was one of the main couple guys the whole time, which is significant considering the time period. Not really for WWE in the mid-90s, but more so WCW. He was crucial in all that. And really, I don't know. Just because of that alone, pretty much, he gets that placing for me. So, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think he's kind of high. I think I've always thought he's one of the more overrated wrestlers of all time. Curious to see what listeners and our viewers think about that one, like where Kevin Nash ranks all time. That'll be an intriguing one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people would have him top 25. That's interesting. I'd love to hear that conversation. But yeah, go keep going.
Yep, there's that one. Next, 24. This one, some would say I've got him too high. Others would say it's too low. He's a hard one to rank, but to me, I can't deny what he's done. I've got Daniel Bryan, 24. Now, I looked at a lot of things. I looked at, one, the fact that he's had multiple main event runs as different characters in WWE. His big moment was WrestleMania 30. That's a legacy, iconic moment. As far as a moment for a single wrestler, that's better than people above him, even that moment itself. But more so, he had the main event run as the Yes Movement. There was the main event run in 2018, which was loved. That was on the only highlights of that whole year. And 2019 is the Planet Champion. That was just objectively good stuff. So he's had multiple main event runs in that regard as the champion in WWE. There's that. His AEW stuff, as much as I, before he even began the AEW run, said he should retire, he's proved me wrong. He's main evented pretty much every AEW pay-per-view of this year. The MJF Iron Man match was, that was 2023, another incredible match. And beyond that, his catalog, his consistency, it's a 20-plus year, similar to AJ Styles, as we discussed last episode, but it's now 20-plus years, going on 25 years of just sustained excellence. Great matches, was the guy in Ring of Honor. He was the star there. He was in WWE. He built his way up. He was a World Heavyweight Champion, WWE Champion, face, B-plus player face of WWE. Had to retire, came back, Planet Champion, has another WWE run, main events versus Roman Reigns, main events WrestleMania 37. Great match there. Like, Bryan's had such a great career. He really has. I think he's deserving a top 25 place all time. He just is. That's my opinion. As much as I've criticized that part in 2021, he should retire. He deserves top 25 all time.
So here's the headline grabbing question that, don't answer it right now, but I'm going to throw this at you. We'll talk about it in a future episode.
Yeah.
Was Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania 30 win and that whole yes movement, was that more significant than the pipe bomb in wrestling history? Or, I don't know. It's a good question. But I had Daniel Bryan just outside the top 25. I had him at 26. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue. You can't argue against it, really. I mean, Daniel Bryan took the path that guys like Eddie, Benoit, and Jericho took before him. And that was, going international, going to the indies, making a name for himself in Ring of Honor, and then coming into WWE in the big time and proving that he could do it in the big time, just like those guys that I mentioned did it a generation prior. Daniel Bryan has an award named after him in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the Best Technical Wrestler of the Year award. He's arguably the greatest technical wrestler of all time. It's like him, Bret Hart, Kurt Angle on a short list. He's a big star. People know who the guy is. He fits AEW like a glove. He was a huge star in WWE from 2013 to the time he left in 2021. He was just in the mix consistently. And if we're talking like the Mount Rushmore of 2010's WWE, Daniel Bryan has to be on that Mount Rushmore in my mind. It's Cena, Daniel Bryan. Those are the two that I have as shoo-ins for the Mount Rushmore of the 2010s. You can put Brock, other guys on there, Seth Rollins, whoever you want to put, Roman Reigns, but I think Cena and Bryan got to be on there, and that says something. That means a lot. Daniel Bryan took CM Punk's spot when CM Punk left and did it better than Punk in a lot of ways. Bryan's the guy that's drama-free, too. He goes in AEW, he just wants to wrestle. He's still having 5-star, 6-star classics. That Iron Man match he had with MJF in February 2023. Man, dude's unbelievable, bro. Still doing it, Big 2 WrestleMania main events. One of the greatest moments of all time. One of the greatest baby faces of all time. A true baby face. Arguably, Cody Rhodes is the best baby face that we've seen in WWE since Daniel Bryan a decade prior. In 2013-14. The dude is phenomenal. Deserving of a top 30, top 25 placement.
No, I couldn't agree more. So, yeah, that's Bryan. I got him 24. Next, this one, as far as the Ruthless Aggression era, he's one of the code big stars.
I think we got the same one. Go ahead.
Really? I got Batista at 23.
Me too. Yeah.
I think that's the second one we've got where we've both got the same. So That's cool. But yeah, so I look at Batista. It was an 8-year run, realistically. It was 2002 through about 2010. I know he quit May 2010, but really that run, it's evolution, and then it's him as the guy on SmackDown with the big gold belt, and then just him just generally being a main eventer, wrestling Edge, wrestling Undertaker, wrestling Cena, teaming with Rey Mysterio. Like, it was just an 8-year run it was pretty much all killer, no filler. That's how I describe Batista. I know, The Rock had a similar sort of career where longevity-wise, he's not Kane, he's not Big Show, he's not some of these guys who were around for a long time and were just around the mark and always there and reliable. Batista was there for a Ruthless Aggression era time period, and then a year or 2 years of PG, and then he was out. And yes, he came back 2014. There was a lot surrounding that with, Blue Taster, the crowd's booing him. He was going to win the WrestleMania 30 main event against Randy Orton. That would have been horrible. Probably would have blighted his legacy. Nonetheless, and then he had the match against Triple H at WrestleMania 35, which you were in the building for, pal. Were you not?
No, I was not. Not at 35.
Oh, no! I wish you were.
I was at 37, pal. I was there for Daniel Bryan being shoehorned into the main event. with Roman and
Yes.
Edge.
Yes. No comment on that. But no, when it comes to Batista, yeah, I mean, I think Batista, I think of just that thumbs down, like thumbs up, thumbs down moment, power bombing Triple H and winning the world championship, having that incredible trilogy of matches with Triple H. Most people don't view it as a trilogy; they view it as the WrestleMania match, but it was a trilogy. They had a great match inside Hell in a Cell as well. They had a match at Backlash. There was obviously the WrestleMania match. Awesome stuff. And Batista carried the flame on SmackDown for the next few years and was a great world champion. So I got him 23. What do you have to say about him, pal?
Batista, for me, being a Ruthless Aggression era kid, Batista was one of my favorites. It was Eddie, Undertaker, and Batista. Those are my three favorites as a kid growing up in that era. Absolutely loved Batista. Even from his time in Evolution in 03, 04. Loved the guy. Loved him more as the face of SmackDown. I thought he was great. He was the perfect 1B or number 2 to Cena for a period of time. And everything about Batista was just cool, man. The entrance, the theme music, the fireworks. When he come out wearing a suit, rocking the big gold belt, it was like, wow, this is what a wrestler would look like. This is the prototype of a wrestler right here. The guy was cool as shit. He was awesome. You know, he wasn't the best in-ring worker, but he had great matches with Undertaker. In particular, the Last Man Standing match at Backlash, that match at WrestleMania 23. He just he could work with anybody. He could work with Rey Mysterio. He could work with Edge. He could work with Umaga. He could work with Kane, Taker. Didn't matter who you put him in there with. He was gonna get it done, and he was believable. You know, we never got that dream match that should have happened at WrestleMania 30, him versus Brock. That would have been spectacular. Even the guy takes 5 years off or whatever it was from 2014 to 19, comes back and wrestles a pretty good match with Triple H. Had the match been better built and not been so predictable and not been a 30-minute match in the middle of an 8-hour show, that match could be remembered for the good match that it was. Like, that match was good. It was just, the show was such a bore and a marathon that people were like, oh, please, do we need to watch Triple H and Batista have a 35-minute match? But it was still good, you know? The guy is just, he's great, man. You know, he's a big-time movie star now, doing everything that you could do.
I couldn't agree more. Kevin, next spot, 22. I've got Mick Foley here.
Me too.
Wow. Look at this. Look at this.
We're on fire, pal.
Best part about this, we haven't coordinated this beforehand. This is just on the fly. I'm finding this out. So I've got Foley. He's done so much well. He's not a top 10 guy. He just isn't. I mean, maybe in the hardcore space, and maybe, you know, for pioneering hardcore wrestling, he'd be one of the top couple. But just overall, I think of Foley. I think of that moment, the first Raw of 1999, him winning the title. That's his moment. And really, as you see with the top 25 particularly, you sort of need at least like a moment like that, by and large. Something so distinctive, like a career moment. That's Foley's. And just generally, his work during the Attitude Era. I mean, Hell in a Cell is what he's synonymous with as well, being thrown off there. Unbelievable. I mean, the work versus Randy Orton in 2004, again, phenomenal. The work versus Edge, 2006, phenomenal. He's been involved in some great stuff over a long period of time. Cactus Jack, dude, like, there's different versions of him. He wasn't one-dimensional. It wasn't just one version of this guy. So, in that regard, I mean, there's so much to praise to Foley. What do you want to say about him, Phil?
Well, for me, really why I have Mick Foley so high on this is because, in my mind, he is one of the top 5 most significant stars of the Attitude Era. And I think that counts for just about more than anything you could do for a list. You know, when I think Attitude Era, the first 5 wrestlers that come to mind, to me, Steve Austin, The Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, and Mick Foley. I would say those are the 5 most anonymous guys. Do you agree?
Vince McMahon? Question mark.
Oh my God! Stop it! All right, so Mick Foley, I have him in that list. Everything the guy has done is remarkable. I'm not gonna harp on what you said. I'll just mention these few things. His ECW career really did a lot for him. He did a blueprint that Steve Austin and Brian Pillman followed. You know, you get fired from WCW, go to ECW, cut a few good promos, have a crazy match, wind up in WWE. Just like Pillman and Austin did. Mick Foley as Cactus Jack, those promos in ECW, some of the best promos you'll ever see. He's really one of the most unique characters and most recognizable characters of all time. And not only was he involved in that Hell in a Cell match, everyone knows King of the Ring '98, thrown off the cell. By God, they killed him. The most infamous, notorious commentary call in the history of pro wrestling. Not only is he involved in that, he's involved in the highest rated segment in Monday Night Raw history, This Is Your Life with The Rock. Not only that, there's the moment where he won the WWE Championship, and that was a major turning point in the Monday Night Wars, where Tony Schiavone infamously said, "Oh, that they gave the belt to Mick Foley. That won't put butts in seats." And everybody changed their channel to watch Mick Foley win the title in a pre-recorded show. So Mick Foley has been involved in some of the most important moments in wrestling history. There's the I Quit match with The Rock, the street fight with Triple H at the Royal Rumble in 2000, the match with Randy Orton for the IC title, the WrestleMania match with Edge. So many crazy moments. Yeah, he won the WWE title 3 times, held it for like 21 days. Who cares? Mick Foley is not the guy that WWE wanted from a corporate perspective. He wasn't going to be The Rock, Steve Austin on Today's Show with a suit, looking cool. Just wasn't. But Mick Foley is a guy that's still doing things today, still super famous. His book is great. If you guys haven't read his book, it's one of the best books that you could ever read from a wrestler. Very intelligent, articulate guy. Still has an opinion now, still doing a podcast, still makes waves with some of his opinions. Everybody has their eyes on Mick Foley still to this day, so.
Yeah, and as we established, Kevin, it's not, especially with like those world title runs, it's not really about, I guess, the length of days or what have you. Because if that was the case, Bob Backlund would be like 3rd on our all-time list. It's just not how it works. we based, of course, you have a coughing attack. Now, we based it off Impact and what they did. And I still have one more thing on that January 4, 1999. I just love that. You know, they'll put the butts in the seat. And then what WCW proceed to put on is one of the most significant moments in the Monday Night Wars for bad.
Jesus.
The finger poke of doom. A moment which, I mean, that alongside Tony Schiavone's big mouth turned the war. I mean, that was pretty much the last moment WCW was even like, there's such a big January 4 show and they effed it. Anyway, nonetheless, Kevin, 21, the final position, final ranking
This should be
this
good.
episode for me. I've got Sting here.
Oh,
I thought, you know,
wow.
I was trying to think, where do I rank Sting? Where do I rank Sting?
Wow.
And I thought, I mean, he's done it. He's done it everywhere for starters, which that's a tick. WCW, TNA, yeah, WWE run as well. Now he's in AEW. Like the longevity. When did Sting come in? What, late 80s? Mid to late 80s?
He started with the Ultimate Warrior in like the mid 80s.
Yeah. And he's still going today, albeit, you know, he's going to put through tables and you're cringing. Oh my God, is his neck's he's going to be paralyzed and that. Oh, yes, there's that. But really 40 years where he's been, I mean, actively employed for pretty much most of it. Granted, yeah, some of the stuff in TNA may not have been the best. There's some good stuff in TNA. There was some of the stuff in WCW, most infamously the thing where he's in the rafters for a year and that whole storyline, the NWO, that was huge. I talk about, and my reasoning, I'm staying consistent here, impacts when a lot of people are watching. When the lights are brightest, when the most eyeballs are on, what are you doing? What are you producing for us as wrestling fans, us as viewers? Sting was producing that magical year where he's in the rafters, and then did it pan out well after that? That's been debated for a while, how that ended, what went on after that. But I don't know. The Sting to me just, I mean, pretty good, especially in his day, great in the ring, great character, multiple great characters. He's done it as, you know, like he's got different types of face paint. There's the Joker thing in TNA, whatever, but he's done multiple variations. I think he's a legend who deserves the number 21 spot. That's me.
There you go, pal. I had Sting 31. I already went through that. Hell of a list, pal. I'm going to go through mine. There's a few here that you didn't mention that I'll spend some time on. So I assume they're coming in the next episode. If not, that'd be funny. But number 30, I have Bill Goldberg.
Okay.
So Goldberg, for me, a lot of people might say, oh, he should be higher. A lot of people say he shouldn't even be on this list. I'm in the middle with him. You know, I'm not going to put him higher than 30. I think 30 is a stretch for him. I get it. He was the face of WCW for like 2 years. He was on the cover of TV Guides, as a portion of the fan base will constantly remind us. He was undefeated, the spear, the jackhammer, the big gold belt, all that cool stuff. I just think there's too much negativity associated with Goldberg. Just talking about the guy at one point in time would get you like blackballed. We get extreme hatred if you said anything good about him. Uh, like since his WWE return in 2016, 17, in that time frame. You know, that was good. The return was good. Started off good. Match with Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 33 was good. The Survivor Series, the Royal Rumble moments, cool. Love it. And then it got kind of weird. You know, then Goldberg's beating Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship just because. He's beating Bray Wyatt just because he's Goldberg. He's almost kills The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia in front of the Saudi Prince. Saudi Prince thought he was Steve Austin, so he booked him, pal. So it's like, you know, it's like one of those things where does the good outweigh the bad? I don't know. That's not up for me to decide. But for me, when it comes down to it, the guy is one of the pillars of the Attitude Era. The guy is one of the absolute most recognizable wrestlers on the planet. And I think that qualifies for a top 30 placement in and of itself. And the iconic finisher, the moments, all that good stuff. One of the best entrances of all time. There's so much good that it does kind of get in the middle of the negative and keep them balances out, I think.
Yeah, no, I'll just quickly on that. I mean, I had him 37. Much of what you say, I agree with. Yeah, I had him 37. I thought to me, I mean, Goldberg's such a weird one. The good is so good when he's having these big entrances, when he's main eventing huge WCW stadium shows in the 90s against Hogan, yada yada, all that. His best, Goldberg's best is really good from like a spectacle and a notoriety standpoint, high impact. His bad's really bad.
Yeah.
Like really bad.
Right.
You know, and you mentioned it, I mentioned the last episode. We all know Goldberg's bad, but yeah, you're in 30, I had him 37. Let's move on.
All right, 29, I had CM Punk. Spoke about that already. 28, I have Seth Rollins. Where did you have him again?
I had Seth Rollins, like, let me double check. Mid-30s, I had Rollins. I had 35. Rollins.
So I have Rollins so high for a few reasons. One thing I remember specifically about Seth Rollins, I read this article after he lost the WWE Championship, after he got injured, vacated it back in 2015. I read an article about him that was like, oh, this guy is probably a flash in the pan. He'd probably be a mid-carder for the rest of his career, if that. You know, he'll have a few good matches here and there. And that was kind of the perspective on him. Good.
Was that What Culture?
No, it wasn't What Culture. I think it was Bleacher Report, I think.
Oh, ew.
And I just remember reading it at the time, and I was like, this seems to be kind of the narrative on him. Like, he was kind of the forgotten guy of the Shield. You know, it was like, okay, Roman's going to be the face of the company. Dean Ambrose is great on the mic. He'll be a star forever. And Seth Rollins was just kind of there, you know? And I think he's far and away surpassed the expectations that were placed on him from the jump. And he's become, in a lot of ways, in a lot of terms, the most consistent at the top of the guys from the Shield. You know, Roman had that period where everybody hated him for all those years. Moxley's doing undercard stuff, like on the pre-show with Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins has always been in that upper main event, sometimes the main event scene throughout his entire career, his entire run. He's constantly reinvented himself. And in the ring, he's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. One of the best big match performers. He's the closest thing we've seen to Shawn Michaels in that aspect, in terms of a guy that can steal the show in the ring with his big, awe-inspiring moves. His moveset is the best of the modern era. I don't think there's a wrestler that even comes close to him in terms of moveset. You know, the Falcon suplex, the big splashes, everything he does is super athletic and super incredible. And he's been able to sustain it and stay healthy and do it for a long time. And he's world champion now. So the guy has been on top for a long time. I think that counts for something on top of with him being in the Shield. Yeah. Then I have Bob Backlund at 27. I know you left him off your list, I'm pretty sure. Unless you have him in the top 20. So, Bob Backlund, pal, I got him here mainly because of his long title run. Being the face of the WWF, I think it counts for something. You can argue the significance of it, the impact of it, but it still counts for something. Being able to do it for that long, being able to be the guy that Vince Sr. trusted with his business. And then he had a little run in the 90s where he was a pretty good heel, feuded with Bret Hart for a little while, did some cool stuff there. One of the best, like, mat technicians that we've seen. And he did some stuff in the modern era, too. You know, the stuff with Darren Young, which was funny, and he made occasional appearances. He's just a guy that people know. He's a well-recognized wrestler. I think he's worth a placement here. 26, I have Daniel Bryan. We already spoke about that. 25, did you mention this guy? Did you have Ultimate Warrior in your...
I did. I had him 37, I believe. 36. I had him
36. So I had Ultimate Warrior 25. I put him a little higher, mainly because what his run, how impressive his peak was. It wasn't very long, but his peak, of the guys that have had shorter peaks, I think his peak was the most impressive. And I compare him mainly to Goldberg being one and CM Punk being the other. These guys that had really crazy peaks where they were the absolute talk of wrestling. All the headlines were built around them. Everything they did was noteworthy. I think Ultimate Warriors was bigger than those guys. His peak was bigger than those guys. He surpassed Hogan. He took over Hogan as the absolute face of the WWF. When Hogan was... You couldn't touch him, you know? Hogan beat everybody. And Ultimate Warrior surpassed him in merchandise sales, pay-per-view buys, all that stuff, and then maintained it, you know, for a little while until Vince McMahon decided to try to make a controversial story about a Persian Gulf War instead of just doing a WrestleMania 6 rematch at WrestleMania 7 and having Hogan beat Warrior. That would have made the most sense. The guy is a comic book character. Everybody in the world knows Ultimate Warrior, one of the most recognizable wrestlers. That counts a lot for me. Recognizability, stardom. You know, like, if you look at this list and you tell me, like, if I tell someone, hey, name 10 wrestlers, a lot of people are going to name Ultimate Warrior. You know, the guy, they know who the guy is. Maybe it's a little high. Maybe some people will say that. Who knows? 24, I have one of my absolute favorites from my childhood. A guy that is a mainstream star, someone that's been in and around the mix, and a big star in WWE for well over 2 decades.
The Miz.
Huh?
This is The Miz.
Oh my God, stop it. 3 decades, I should say. 3 decades. Well in the mix for 3 going on 4 decades. A man that beats his children on live TV for the world to watch.
Oh, Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio, yes. I have Rey Mysterio at 24.
I thought you have him higher. Wow, okay.
Yeah, I thought about putting him higher, but, you know, I was like, I think Batista, Foley, and Dusty did a little bit more.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio's mask. Probably the most legendary piece of merchandise. Maybe behind Cena's shirt. Maybe in wrestling history, the Austin 316 shirt. But Mysterio's mask is right up there. He's one of the greatest, most influential wrestlers of all time. His style is one that everybody is influenced by, all generations from the past 30 some odd years. Rey has been that big of a deal, and he's still doing it at a high level. You know, still has people intrigued, still had one of the most intriguing storylines of 2022 and early 2023. Storyline with his child, Dominic, and Rhea Ripley. The guy is super well known. Merch mover, big moments, the Royal Rumble in 06, WrestleMania 22, winning the world title, and amongst other things. The guy's done it all. The 23 I have Batista, 22 I have Foley, and at 21 I have Dusty Rhodes. So, yeah, to recap my list, it's Goldberg, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Bob Backlund, Daniel Bryan, Warrior, Rey Mysterio, Batista, Mick Foley, and Dusty Rhodes.
And to recap mine, CM Punk, Vince McMahon, Dusty Rhodes, Big Show, Kane, Kevin Nash, Daniel Bryan, Batista, Foley, and Sting. Kevin, I want to ask you one question. I'm listening to your list. How do you justify Bob Backlund being above Sting?
Well, for me, it's just, it comes down to that run that he had in WWF as champion and being the face of the biggest company.
What was Bob Backlund, though? Like, how would you describe Bob Backlund? Like, what's he memorable for?
Well, a lot of people will remember him for his feud and storylines with Bret Hart. I would say that's like what most wrestling fans will go back to. Depending how old they are, they'll remember him as the top guy in the WWF, wrestling against guys like Pedro Morales, you know, guys like that, Iron Sheik, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. Bob Backlund, too, I'll say this, I'll add this. I didn't mention this. A synonymous moment, Bob Backlund basically created the transitional champion because he was such a good babyface that, you know, Vince had to switch the belt from Bob Backlund to Hogan and didn't want to do that, so they got Iron Sheik involved, had Iron Sheik beat him and hold the belt for a month. And, you know, more to come on a Wrestling Uncovered video about that, pal. Iron Sheik was offered a lot of money to break Hulk Hogan's leg. We've all heard that story. And ruin the WWF and ruin WrestleMania. But he did business, Bubba. So, yeah, great stuff.
Wow.
Love it. Shout out to Iron Sheik, too. He didn't make either of our lists, but he's top 75 all time. Top 65, yeah.
Yeah, he's above the Miz all time. No, just...
His Twitter game was legendary. Rest in peace to a legend.
Absolutely. No, 100%. But yeah, no, I think that's fair. Granted, a couple of our placings will probably raise some eyebrows. Look forward to hearing the feedback on this one. We've given our reasons now, so it is what it is. Now I'm feeling like I've ranked Rey Mysterio too high after hearing where you've ranked him. You got him 24. I thought he'd be in the teens for you. So interesting. I guess, have I overrated Rey Mysterio?
Well, you've overrated a lot of guys, but that's either here nor there.
I have not. You've overrated Bob Backlund. Shamelessly.
That's okay.
But there you go.
All right, pal. You ready to go around the world? Get the globe out, pal.
Yep, sure am, pal. Get the big GLOBE, pal. Let's go around the world, pal.
Oh, this is a doozy, pal.
Hold on, let's stop the globe. Here we are, pal. The best country in the world, pal. It's Australia. It's a land down under, pal.
This one's a doozy, pal. You're going to love this.
I think I just broke something. What's up, pal?
You broke the globe?
Nearly.
Oh, no.
What's happening today, pal? What's going on?
All right, so you're an avid gym goer. How frequently do you go to the gym? Like 6 days a week?
Well, nowadays I run more. I still go to the gym about twice a week. I used to go like 6-7 days a week. I used to be real hardcore.
Right. Yeah. So you were an avid gym goer at one point. Okay, so
yes,
I had an interesting experience. I don't know how you fall into where you land on gym etiquette and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I had an interesting experience at the gym a few days ago. So I walk into the gym, right, and this gym that I go to has 4 benches. They're all taken up. Like, okay, cool, fine, no problem. I'm waiting. I get a phone call. I'm on the phone. The same people that are on the bench, maybe aside from like 2 rotated, but there's one guy in particular that's been on the bench since I got there. I was on the phone for like 20 minutes. This guy is still on the bench. I see a bunch of people rotate out. I see one guy who's working out, and he's like on it. I'm like, hey bro, let me get next. I'm waiting, whatever. This other guy comes up, and just like I walk away again. I think I went to do other machines because I had been there for like 30 minutes. I hadn't done anything. I had to warm up. This other guy walks up, takes that bench that the guy told me I was next for. So I go up to the guy and I'm like, hey man, I was next for this bench. I've been waiting for it for a little minute. Doesn't really say anything. It's like, well, I'm here. I'm here now, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Not really going to get into it with somebody about a bench. It's not that serious. Like, clearly the guy wants the bench that bad. He looked like he was a little upset, having a tough day. So I was like, okay, cool. No problem. So I go up to the other guy that had been there since I walked in. It's probably been about 45 minutes now. This guy has been on the bench for about 45 minutes, right? And I go up to him and I'm like, I see him beginning to clean the bench. And it looks like he's done. He's taking weights off the bar. So I'm like, all right, maybe he's done. So I go up and ask him, like, hey man, you done? And he's like, no, I'm about to do flats right now. So he was doing like a 45-minute workout of incline chest. And he's like, I'm going to do flats now. And I'm just like, okay, no problem. Walk away. I'm waiting, minding my business. This guy comes up to me 2 minutes later and he's like, hey man, let me give you some advice. And I'm looking at him like, didn't say anything. And he just starts talking to me. He's like, okay, so this is how it works when you're waiting for a bench. You see me, I'm active. I'm doing my thing. I'm working. You ask people that are not active, that are on their phone. You don't ask someone like me if I'm waiting for a machine. And I look at him and I'm like, a simple no, I'm not done using it would have been good. And I just walk away, And I go up and I ask the guy that took my spot and I'm like, hey man, you almost done? And he's like, oh, I'm about to start doing legs in a minute. And he's like sitting on his phone, texting on Tinder, whatever the fuck he's doing. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And I said that out loud, I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I've been waiting, like you took my machine, and I just walk away, whatever. There's a girl at the other bench, and she's like, oh, I'm done, you can have mine. And I hear the 2 guys behind me talking about me, And the one guy who took my spot at the bench is like, oh, I have nowhere to be. I'm not in a rush. I got all day. I'll be on this fucking bench all day. And I'm ignoring it. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, no problem. It's the benches clearly mean more to these 2 people than it does to me. My life is going to go on. If I don't get to do a bench workout because people want to be assholes, that's fine with me. I'm okay with that at this point. I've accepted that I might not be able to do bench. So I'm working out. I'm maxing out on the bench. So I'm doing maybe like 5-6 reps. I can feel these guys watching me do my reps. You know, they're probably looking at me like, oh, this guy was making a big deal, and he's just gonna do like 5 or 6 reps. But I'm like maxing out. I don't care. I'm in my zone. I forgot about them. I go maybe 20 minutes later. I'm doing other machines. I'm doing a back workout, right? And I'm like just doing a back workout. I see the guy that was explaining to me how waiting for a bench works at the gym. I see him looking at me, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna fight now at this point. Like that's what I'm thinking. This guy's looking at me now from across the gym, and he comes up and he's like, hey man, I just want to apologize. I didn't say nothing. I'm looking at him. He's talking. He's like, man, I shouldn't. I didn't mean to come off like an asshole. My bad. I'm looking at him like, are you done? And he's like, man, I just want to apologize. And I was like, I'm good. I don't need an apology. Like I told you, a simple no. I'm not done using the machine. It's fine. I don't need to be. I didn't come for a lesson. I'm here to work out. Do you need anything else from me? I'm in the middle of a set. And he just walked away. So that's my story. What's your opinion on that?
Just a quick question. It's obviously commercial gym. Is this like usually like a very busy gym? Is it like were you in peak hour during this? Or like what time of day was
Yeah,
this?
it was peak hour. It was probably like
Yeah.
6 p.m. I'd say. It was slow for that time. You know, it's that time of year where people stop going to the gym, and
Yeah.
you know, it was still kind of slow, but the benches were being used. Everything else was pretty empty, though. I'd say.
That's ridiculous. That's unbelievable. That whole thing. I mean, the fact that they clearly be able to tell you're either mingling or trying to get a bench for over half an hour,
Yeah,
and it's just unbelievable. And I mean, the nerve to tell you what exactly was said there. Oh, look, I'm going to tell you something, a lesson. You need to learn to come only approach. What is that? You know,
I know.
I'm happy. At least there was an apology, an effort of an apology. So there was a bit of like, okay, that I came off a bit of an asshole there. Sorry about that. But I mean, still, that's ridiculous. You know, it's almost as if you're in the wrong for spending 40 minutes waiting to get a bench. You're just you just want to do some reps of bench and then move on with your day. And you got these guys bickering about you and clearly watching you the whole time, judging because you just want to ask politely, can I get a bench? This is ridiculous. Like it's been 40 minutes and you're sitting like, and that whole thing where, oh, you know, I'm on the bench. Oh, you look like you're done. Oh, well, actually, no, I'm about to do this on the bench as well. Huh? You're wiping it down. What?
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
what?
Yeah,
That's disgraceful. And you know, the fact that there's 4 benches, and even with you asking politely and consistently going, "Yep, is any bench available?" You look done. You look like you're not working out anymore. Can I use it? Oh no, I've got to do this as well. Like what? What is that? You know, especially in peak hour, that's pretty shambolic. I usually find if you're on a machine half an hour, you make a concerted effort to just move on, because especially in peak hour, people want to use that machine. Bench press is one of the more popular machines in the gym, right? Outside of maybe some of the lower body machines, which women just love using, the bench press, especially for guys, like the most popular thing by and large. And so to spend 45 minutes doing 3 different types of workouts on a bench press in peak hour at a gym, how about he just should have a lesson in that? Pick your equipment better. Do drop sets. Change how you do your workout. Maybe do one lot of the bench. Go do something else. Let someone else have a go for a bit, and maybe later come back and do. I don't know, but 45 minutes, 50 minutes of a machine, judgmentally watching you, bickering to someone else on a bench, like that's poor. That's poor. That's very poor. I'm not. I'm not. I feel for you there. That's ordinary. That's an ordinary gym experience. That's not great
yeah. That
at
was
all.
it. Was really strange. Like I was just
Yeah.
maybe it's the pandemic, and because the pandemic's over now and people don't know how to act, or they forgot how to
Yeah.
act in public. I don't know, but I was like what's going on? You know,
Yeah.
like okay, you're not using the machine. I don't need to be fucking told how to use a machine, or how to wait for a machine. Thanks. Like ridiculous, bro. You know.
Kevin, I had one, which this was a few months back. It was, I mean, not as long. Like, that sounds like a drawn out, like hour long experience, like whole story. But this, I'm doing the like assisted pull ups. I do a set of that. I'm like 2 sets in. I'm like a meter and a half from the machine. It's clearly I'm using the machine. I'm just, muscles recovering. I'm looking at the machine. This woman wanders in and just starts using it. And I was like,
Hello.
and she got off. I looked at her. I was like, "You good? Like what?" like imagine like you're clearly using something. You know, get up to literally walk 5 feet to go do whatever, clean your hands, get a drink, what have you, and someone's just using your machine.
It happens all the time.
I looked at this person, and I was just like, sorry? Did I wipe the thing down? Did I move my bag? Like, my stuff's still there. I'm like 2 sets in. Sorry. And it's, as you say, I think a bit of the pandemic, people don't know how to act, really, by and large. There's a lot of just like, a lot of people's skills and just social cues can't be read anymore, I think. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, which in your situation, you don't act that way at a gym. I know, like, I watch Joey Swole stuff. It's ridiculous. Like, you don't act that way. It's a public space. You're all using the same equipment. You're just trying to use a piece of gym equipment. You're not here to be lectured and harassed by someone who needs to spend 50 minutes on a bench in peak hour. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous, pal. Well, yeah, that was my story. I think we're ready to get out of here, pal.
Yep.
It's been a hell of an episode of Elite Heat, pal. I love it.
It's been a good show, pal. Next week, I mean, our 20 through 11.
Yeah.
So we're amping up towards the end of the top 50. It's been an explosive top 50. I look forward to seeing the comments for this one. How people react to you putting Ultimate Warrior and Goldberg in the top 30. How people react to me putting Vince McMahon above CM Punk. All of that. I look forward to seeing that. But Kevin, until next time.
Peace.